This is June the 29th, 1985. My name is Thomas Angell, and I am 92 years old. My father was at Cornell University, where he was invited by the then president of Stanford, David Starr Jordan, to become the dean of the Department of Psychology at Stanford. So he came west, and at that time there was almost nothing in Palo Alto, and the consequence is that he had to come to San Jose to live. And during the time after he got here in 1892, right away he had this house built. I was born in San Jose in September of 1892, and as soon as the house was built, my mother and father moved up here. Then my father, in association with other professors, started in this neighborhood. There were at least a dozen professors in this immediate neighborhood, known as Professorville. There were three right in a row here, my father. The next house was inhabited by Professor Augustus Tabor Murray, the head of the Department of Greek Language. But in the early days, some of the professors, like Professor Charles D. Marks of the Engineering Department and Professor C.B. Wing also of the Engineering Department, both had horses and carriages. Horses were allowed within the city limits, despite the fact that the attendant refuse attracted a lot of flies. They were allowed. Also cows. I might add that kitty corner across the street here was a lot with a great big white oak tree in the middle of it, and under that was a small home in which an Irish family by the name of Cashel lived. Anyhow, they kept a Jersey cow, and my mother arranged with the Cashels that they should deliver the milk from that cow onto the back porch of this house, which was screened in, and every afternoon about 5 o'clock, and she had it in a big pan like this, and in the morning the cream on top of that milk had to be ladled off with a spoon. You couldn't pour it. You couldn't pour it after you got it into a pitcher. And my father had his morning coffee. He had to ladle it out with a spoon. You couldn't pour it. It was too thick. My father never maintained a horse here. He had a bicycle, of which not many were made, of what they call a Columbia chainless, with gears, and he rode out to the campus on that. But as I say, some of these other professors, they either walked out or went out in a horse and carriage. All the groceries were delivered from stores down on University Avenue by horse and carriage, horse and wagon, and the vegetables came from a Chinese who had a long pole across his shoulders and a big basket of vegetables on each end, and he came every day, and we always had a Chinese cook. So I remember my mother gave instructions to the Chinese cook that he should give Wong, the vegetable man, hot tea and rice every noon when he came. Nobody else did that for him, but Mrs. Angell provided it. When Chinese New Year came, we were loaded with lychee nuts, coconut candy, and Chinese lilies. They didn't forget. Yeah, there was an ice man with a wagon, and he brought it and put it in the ice box. He put a chunk, a 50-pound chunk on the top of a big ice box. When this house was first established, there was no electricity. We had oil lamps, and my mother had a maid, and one of her jobs was to clean the chimneys, the lamp shades, the glass chimneys, and put oil in them and trim the wicks. It was a daily job all over the house. That and candles. That's what illuminated this home for some time, until finally the city of Palo Alto established an electrical system down by the waterworks.